So this is them. We're going to test them out a bit. They look gigantic in person. There's the band. There's the case. This is like a little fitment thing. I don't think there's any in store. Okie dokie. Well, I just did the demo, and the glasses are awesome. Will I buy them? I don't think so. The glasses just look really crazy huge and crazy thick in all the wrong areas. The display is actually a lot bigger than I thought it would be going into it. I thought it was gonna be like much smaller in my view, but it was pleasantly just perfect enough. Like, I would say that's like the perfect size for display right in front of your eyes, unless we're talking about augmented reality, which needs to be the entire field of view, of course, or as much as possible. But yeah, so the display didn't look as clear as I thought it would. It looks more like a hologram than it does like an actual image on like a TV. So I could have gotten some footage of it, but there were some people like waiting for me, and I just felt like kind of pressured to get out of there. You know, the place was booked up for like 3 weeks, so there's people just waiting, and there's people in line behind me. I didn't want to take any extra time. I wanted to test it out. The neural band was awesome, very intuitive. I would say maybe after a day or two, I would probably be used to all the gestures. I kept on forgetting that the middle finger was like the back, and this one was like, it was just a little bit different than I expected it to be, but definitely very intuitive, very manageable. And I mean, the whole twisting the volume feature was super sensitive. I didn't think it was going to be as accurate as it was, but it was like spot on to exactly like what I wanted to. I got used to it immediately. The zooming in, like for camera stuff, it felt a little bit janky. Not like janky in a way that makes the product feel like lesser quality, but it felt like it needed an update. It felt like it could be better than it was. I do hope for the future that like things like YouTube are available. Laying down at night and, you know, going through some YouTube shorts until you fall asleep, and then just, you know, close your eyes or whatever, instead of having to hold your phone up and then like have it, you know, as soon as you fall asleep, your phone hits you in the face when you let go, or like cranking your neck like this, like, you know how it goes. The volume was a little bit underwhelming. I thought the volume was going to be a lot louder than it was. I was a bit disappointed in the fact that it sounded about as loud, or maybe even a little bit quieter. Maybe I'm just in a different environment, but it wasn't as loud as I wanted it to be, basically. So, and I'm sure adaptive volume is present, and I'm sure it can get louder if the environment is louder, but I wanted it to be louder and have more bass. But, you know, it's open ear speakers, so, you know, you can only do with what you can do with that amount of space, at least with our technology that we have currently. The fact that they're glossy is a huge turnoff for me, not only because it's just like a really reflective on your face, but it kind of, it makes them look cheaper. It makes the glasses look cheaper, in my opinion. Matte finishes, in my opinion, look a lot better for frames like that where they're kind of thicker. I think it's just a little bit more subdued looking. They didn't look as big on my face as I thought. You know, I thought the band on the side was going to be a lot larger. I mean, it was definitely a chunky boy. It was Chunk Master Flex. But at the same time, you know, for what it is, like the technology packed inside, it makes sense that it would have to be thicker. And for anyone that is a passersby, they would probably be like, they would probably know that you have some kind of technology on your face, you know, and I think that's what Meta's banking on, is the fact that people are going to ask questions like, hey, why are those glasses so thick, you know, and you can be like, well, because they have a display here, and they got speakers, and, you know, you can talk to AI. That's another thing that I don't like about the Meta glasses in general, is the fact that they need to be connected to access any kind of AI features. I think it should have some kind of AI built in, at least enough to answer basic questions, just enough to use the glasses independently of the Meta app. I think it's a really huge limitation, the fact that you need both a Bluetooth signal and a Wi-Fi signal to make the glasses work, and a phone. I haven't tested it, but maybe it's possible to listen to music through Spotify or something. I don't know. I don't think so without the phone, but I'm pretty sure you need the phone as well. My nose is running like crazy. It's really annoying. The menus were very straightforward. There's nothing fancy about them. Just, these are the apps. There's like 8 or 10 apps or something like that you have available to you. There's no app store. You can't just go and download something. It's just whatever is on there right now. I'm sure it'll be an option later on, some kind of update. But for now, it's 10 apps, and they're super basic apps. The only thing that's kind of fancy is probably the Instagram Reels app, so you can scroll through Instagram Reels. It wasn't connected for my demo, but he said that obviously it'll be possible in the future. Maybe it's not even possible now. Maybe it needs an update, but the feature will be there, and there's a placeholder at least there. So that's probably the fanciest app. The rest of the things are just kind of intuitive and basic. Like on a radio from back a long time ago, it was like the tuning dial and the volume, right? It's kind of feels like going back in the past with how simple things are. There's less features. If you want to adjust something on the glasses, I didn't see a settings option in the glasses themselves. I think you have to set everything up in the phone application, independently of the glasses. The haptics in the neural band seemed pretty weak. It's enough to where you can feel what you're doing, but the haptics, I asked the guy, hey, can you turn the haptics up any more than this? And the guy was like, no, this is what it is. Maybe in the future, yeah. The neural band wasn't uncomfortable. It just felt like wearing a tight watch. I don't think it'd ever be an issue for anybody, unless if you had a lot of arm hair, maybe it would catch on some arm hairs. But I don't have a whole lot of arm hair, so I can't speak on that. Yeah, overall they were impressive, but the fact that I bought the Gen 2 Meta Ray-Ban Wayfarers, that's good enough for me. I don't need the display. It would be nice for a lot of things, especially at work, to see a text message pop up in my eye rather than playing a sound that interrupts my conversation. I just set it up to where I have a visual representation of the message rather than an audio. You're hey, you got a message from this person, and because it does throw you off in conversation when you hear that. It makes it hard to continue talking, and then people are they can't necessarily hear what you hear, so they're did he just have a malfunction? Why did he stop talking, or why did he start talking weird? So just having a visual representation would just be a reminder. Hey, you got a message coming up. Check it out later when you get a chance. Once you're done with your conversation. I didn't check out any of the features like the conversation mode. I know you can talk to the AI and be hey, set it up for conversation mode, please, or turn it on, and then it'll, whoever you're looking at, it'll focus their voice and make it louder, which would be helpful for me because I have a hard time hearing people, especially in social situations where there's a bunch of people talking around me. Not only do I get distracted really easily, but my hearing is a little bit worse than it used to be because I've been in a lot of bands. I've done a lot of firearms stuff throughout the years, shooting thousands and thousands of rounds. Just listening to music loud in general throughout the years. So that'll help me out a lot in conversation. And I think this might be a product where you want to maybe wait for Gen 2 or Gen 3 for the majority of people. This is a product for the enthusiasts that are wanting to be on the cutting edge. And I do like being on the cutting edge, I do. But I think this is a little bit too cutting edge, and I think I'm going to wait for the next iteration at the very least. If not, maybe the iteration after that. But yeah, overall, I can recommend them. I will say one more thing that I can think off the top of my head. The band, the hinge system on the glasses, they have a little bit too much give, in my opinion. I feel like it would be a little bit better if there was a little bit less give, so they would feel a little bit tighter in your face. because let's say you're wearing sunscreen or something like that. I feel like the glasses, the extra weight of the glasses will make them slide down a little bit easier on your face. If you've got sunscreen on your nose or lotion or whatever. I had coconut oil on my face, and I felt them kind of sliding down even though I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything active, but if I'm leaning over at work or jogging or something like that and you have like sunscreen on, I think that could be a problem. So I wish they were a little bit tighter, but they weren't so loose that I was like, constantly poindextering, like, oh, gotta push my glasses up, every 5 seconds. They weren't like that, but they did feel looser than say the Meta Wayfarer Gen 2s that I have. Anyway, have a good day. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.